morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the listeners to the ADHD Reframe Project with me, host Emma Craven. And this is season 2, episode 5, I think. I don't know. We've just been talking about numbers before I hit record, so I think it's number 5. But anyway, season 2, episode ... Today I'm joined by Jeanna. So Jeanna, would you like to do a little introduction to yourself, please?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. This
Pleasure.
is really this is really gonna be a lot of fun. My name is Jeanna Malines, and I am a career transition coach and workplace development strategist for neurotypical professionals.
Wow.
And it's been a very interesting journey to get here. I've got 25 years of corporate recruiting experience. So I take all of the things I learned on the other side of the table and I bring them to my clients that are either in a career transition, they're maybe pivoting into something that's better suited for them, or they're in the workplace and they want to improve their communication skills or their leadership skills, or maybe there's some conflict that's going on. So I take all of that I learned and then I get rid of all of the generic advice that doesn't work for us and reframe it and help my clients succeed in their careers.
Sounds amazing. Like,
It's very, very gratifying.
yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, you get a lot of job satisfaction out of that to kind of support people throughout kind of huge changes, like you've just said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and change is not necessarily a a good thing for a lot of neurodivergent people. And the problem is that, and right now in the United States, I've never seen a job market as bad as this since 2007 when the housing market crashed. Um, and so imagine a neurotypical person out there trying to find a job and getting ghosted and rejection emails and sending out hundreds of resumes to get a couple of interviews. It's just, and then there's so many scams, fake jobs, ghost jobs. It's a lot even for a neurotypical person to navigate and imagine a neurodivergent person trying to do this. And there's lots of ties into the rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And I actually wrote an article not too long ago and tied all of the ways that rejection sensitivity, the RSD, um, uh, kind of shows up in our lives and tied each one to a part of the job search. Um, because it can be really, really, honestly, in my experience, I lost someone, due to a late diagnosis and some career issues, and that's really when I decided to, go full forward and I started researching, ADHD career coach, neurodivergent career coach, and I literally found 1, and I'm like, "What? There's gotta be more of us." And there weren't. I literally just, found one and, that was the only one came up on a Google search, just one person. So I was like, "Okay, there's a need here. This is something that I wanna do. This is my tribe. These are my people, and I wanna be of service."
I love that. I love that. So talk us through your diagnosis then, please, if you don't mind.
Well, my diagnosis was a lot like, women my age. I got very lucky. My primary care doctor, is, a specialist in ADHD. Her husband has a debilitating ADHD, so I just happened to win with that. And in 2018, 2019, she was kind of telling me, Gina, I really, really think that we need to have the ADHD conversation. I mean, I already had the anxiety, the depression, and then I was getting a little bit of OCD too. And which now looking back is, I called it the Gen X trifecta, but now looking back, it's all it's all tied up together. It's when you have ADHD, those other things usually backpack right on top of it. But it wasn't until um, COVID hit and lockdown hit because I was telling my doctor, no, 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 look at my perfectly cultivated, scheduled life. I was in gifted, all of the things. And then when lockdown happened, my perfectly cultivated, scheduled life ended because the rug got pulled out from under me. We're in lockdown. And it took about a week and a half for my brain to break. And I was also going through perimenopause.
Oh, yes.
So I called my doctor up hysterical. And she was like, oh, finally, it only took a global pandemic for you to believe me.
I love her.
But being in lockdown, it gave me the opportunity, and she gave me the opportunity to, should I take it in the morning? Is it better if I take it at noon? Should I take it both? Messing around. Maybe that was a little jumpy. Maybe I'll just take half of one. And so I really got to experiment, and she gave me the authority to do that, which was really great because I came up with what worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. I think we all need a doctor like your primary care doctor. She sounds amazing.
I told her if she ever retires, I will literally hire her as my own personal physician.
If I could afford it, I'd hire her as well. Because, finding it's challenging to find a specialist, particularly I think for us women, when it comes to the hormones as well. Like perimenopause started for me when I turned 40. I had one of my ovaries removed. I've always had polycystic ovaries. I've always had really
Mhm.
dreadful, like bad gynecological issues. Um, and I had a polycystic ovaries, and they took one of them out, and then it kicked in, and I obviously didn't know about it at the time, and then it just gradually I got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and then my partner and I got together, and then within a few years he said that I'd had a complete personality transplant, and the only
Mhm.
thing that we could put it down to was the perimenopause. And yeah, and obviously now, um, we know because there's research and there's information out there that, estrogen or hormonal fluctuations for women directly impact the dopamine release in the brain. And it's like, there is some research being carried out, but it's like few and far between. And, it's almost like I sometimes I feel like I have to fight. I have to not fight physically, fight, but it's always that kind of self advocacy for me to push myself to kind of try and find someone that understands the fact that I've got ADHD, DRSD, I've got complex PTSD, I've got
Mhm.
fibro, I've got depression, anxiety, I've got all of these things that they say, oh, you're medically complex. I call it medically interesting because I think it's actually a nicer spin on it. But finding someone like a medical professional that knows about ADHD and hormones in women is almost non-existent. It's
Mhm.
just in the UK, that is, and it's probably not. It's just I can't afford to pay privately, so I have to go through our healthcare system, which unfortunately means that you've got to see whoever they put you with. But yeah,
Yeah, and I
sorry,
mean, it's hard
tangent.
enough to advocate for our own health as women. I mean, studies show that women, I mean, we are, you know, we're constantly having to advocate for ourselves if we're in pain, if we have, gynecological system issues, and then PMDD is a huge factor. In ADHD, and just to get the simple gynecological care, we have to advocate for ourselves. Um, and so add on this invisible monster. It's like an octopus. It's ADHD, and the tentacles are anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD, like all of these things. But they look at you and they're like, but you're fine. You don't look sick. And,
Exactly.
it's just like, "Wait a minute," like, and I've gone, like, before I found my primary care physician, I was diagnosed as bipolar, put on the wrong medications, almost killed me, got the shakes, the muscle spasms, the dyskinesia that may never go away. I got the, life-threatening rash, I got all of those things, and this is from a psychiatrist. And then I come to find just my normal primary care general doctor, and she is this wealth of knowledge and believes me and actually is pushing me and saying, look at this, look at that. And so I really, really lucked out. And I wish people not only in the United States, but in everywhere could get healthcare and be believed. A lot of times, "Oh, it's in your head," and it's
This,
not.
yeah, so many times in the past that that's been said, it's psychosomatic. Oh, okay, so it's all in my head. So and now I kind of do a lot of research myself, and I like, if I've been diagnosed with something, I do like to find out about it. I like to know what the symptoms are. I like to know why, when, where, how, all of these things. But I know not everybody does, and it's just the amount of time that I've felt judged. Like
Mhm,
I call it medical PTSD because
mhm,
it's like going into battle every time I speak to somebody because I'm
mhm,
just, there's so many kind of comorbidities, so many things that can kind of affect or make things worse. And because it's not an easy kind of case, let's say my health
mhm,
is medically interesting, it's like they almost just want to just shut you up and get you out of their office as quickly as possible. And it's like,
mhm.
so, I take my partner with me. I'll write a list of things that I want to talk about, and I won't leave until I've talked about them. And yeah, but it shouldn't have to be like that for anybody
No, it should not,
at
it should
all.
not. And it's really interesting too because, there's so much information out there now so that we can learn, 10 years ago, there was not a lot of information out there on women, ADHD, the hormone, and perimenopause factors, and the fact that in the 90s, ADHD was a boys thing because they generally will will they're more external in their traits, where women tend to internalize. So, yeah, I had my nose in a book pretty much 24/7, um, and I looked back and, it's so funny when I finally accepted my diagnosis. I looked back back to my work life, my relationships, my school life, and I was like, "Oh, that's why I quit the band, the drill team, the dive team, the lead in the school play. That's why I quit high school." Um, and then, looking through my career, just like, trying to find my place and the taking positions, accepting roles too quickly, rage quitting, all of those things, and you go through kind of like I did for myself. I went through like the stages of grief. Yeah, I was sad, and then I was kind of angry. Like, why didn't anybody pick this up? Like, why? And then, you go through, justifying things, and then you finally come to a point of acceptance. And when you come to that point of acceptance and you surround yourself by people that are are in the same boat as you, that we're learning so much more about perimenopause and how many women now are just finally getting diagnosed, like me, like you, and it's scary. And now that I've been diagnosed, and I talked to my mom a lot about it. She's like, "Huh, I do that. I do that." Just yesterday, her psychiatrist said that he thought that she was bipolar because of her, Temu shopping sprees, and I'm like, "No, that's ADHD. You're just
Yeah.
chasing dopamine." Let me ask you a question. When they finally show up, do you even want them? No. Did you even want all those clothes? No,
No. Yeah.
because you were just chasing dopamine, and I mean, I had to take the Amazon app off my phone.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't have enough money to be able to shop like I would like to. Um, but yeah, in the past, yeah, I've got a thing about shoes. Well, this isn't in the past. I'm obsessed with shoes. So,
I'm obsessed with shoes.
sparkly animal print
You wanna
shoes.
talk about an impulse buy?
Yeah.
I bought I bought a pair of, Balenciaga combat boots, impulse buy, $2,200.
Ooh, yeah, that's a bit out of my price range, but I do love shoes.
Well, they're my prized possession, I'll never get rid of them. It wasn't really an impulse buy, but it was an impulse buy.
It,
Yeah.
you deserve it. You work hard. You deserve
I
them.
do. I
Yeah.
deserved it.
Even if you just look at them for the rest of your life and never wear them because you don't want to ruin them, you still deserve them because you work hard, so
Well, I
you
don't think you
deserve a
can
treat.
ruin them. They're called the bulldozer. You should look them up. You can't
Okay.
ruin them.
I will then. Yeah, I'll have a look. Very clumsy for me. But I mean, I think I can. I don't have a relationship with my mother now. Just because she's a narcissist and she bullied me all of my life, so I don't have. But she was diagnosed with bipolar. And there are times when I sit here and think, well, she probably doesn't have bipolar. She's probably always had ADHD. But obviously, for her generation, our generation is just starting to be diagnosed.
Well,
So for our
yeah.
parents' generation, that would have been kind of because both of my mum's kids have got ADHD, me and my brother, we've got different dads. I don't speak to him either. So
Yeah.
obviously we know the heritability of ADHD is 86%, is quite high. So having two children, both with different dads, guaranteed my mum's got ADHD and not bipolar. But I don't speak to her anymore and that conversation will never be had. And I keep knocking my microphone. So I apologize because I talk a lot with my hands. Um,
Me
but
too.
I think, yeah, perimenopause and menopause, I speak to a lot of women that talk about like menopause, perimenopause, and menopause. I think for any woman is really challenging. It can be. I mean, women have murdered, left their husbands, left their children, like, done some of the most craziest things. I mean, crazy as in
Yeah.
crazy, but they've been let off for murder. There's because they're menopausal. And I think that in itself is
Mhm.
challenging enough. But then when
Exactly.
you add in the 44 decades or plus of undiagnosis and then add in the ADHD and then
Mhm.
add in everything else, it's like, it's no wonder that we feel like we're literally going out of our minds, is it?
Literally, I'll never forget right before I accepted my diagnosis. I was at work and I was a recruiter for Northwestern Mutual, which is a huge financial services company here in the States. And I had the worst panic attack that I've ever had in my life. I could not sit down. I couldn't look at my computer screen. My screen was just like moving. I kept having to get up and walk around, and my face was just so bright red. I was flushed, and I walked into my boss's office, and she just looked at me like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I am having the worst anxiety attack I've ever had in my life. I can't get it to go away. I need to go home." And she's like, "Go home." And I went into the garage to get my car, and I couldn't back out. I couldn't back out of the parking garage. I just knew. So I called my partner and I said, "You have to come pick me up. I cannot I can't leave the parking garage. I'm freaking out. And that was right before or right yeah, right before the lockdown. And that was I think that big perimenopause hit. I track it back to that because after that, then my menstrual cycle got a little weird. And I mean, I've always had like super, super light periods and always been very, you know, I know when I'm gonna have one and I never had cramps. Like I was so lucky. But then all of a sudden, it just I was getting really bad PMDD. I was getting really, really when I did have a period, they were just terrible. And I that's when, like, everything else started to, like, uptick. My partner used to call me ants in the pants back in the day because I would always wanna be getting up and going and doing something. And when the perimenopause hit, my personality completely changed because, social anxiety kicked up. And I've always been life of the party. Give me a microphone, a topic, and 15 minutes on any subject, and I will give it to you. I will probably be lying through my teeth, but I'll make you believe it. Um, and I've always been that girl, that spotlight girl. And then all of a sudden, in order to go out and hang out with my friends, I was finding myself needing to drink. And that just got worse and worse as it went along too, until I finally had to say, "Okay, this is a problem." And so like, the whole, neurotypical or neurodivergencies and addiction is a huge thing too. And so for me, I really had to, and I watched my mom go through, a period in her life where she was very, very heavily alcoholic. She's been sober now for about 4 or 5 years.
That's amazing.
But I
Congratulations
saw
to your mum.
myself doing the things that she was doing when she was starting to go through perimenopause. And that's really when her drinking ticked up. And so I'm like, okay. All right, we're gonna have to find better ways of coping.
You've just highlighted another one of my fascinating topics that I like to talk to, substance misuse, not necessarily kind of during perimenopause or menopause, but just, substance misuse as a whole for neurodivergent people. And, it's because we've got a dopamine starved brain. So then we're going to do something or take something or whatever it is that we do, whether it's shopping, whether it's alcohol, whether it's nicotine,
Mhm,
whatever it is, we're going to do it because that releases the dopamine in our brain. And
mhm,
and it's like, unfortunately, the addiction pathway in the brain is like almost the same pathway because it's the reward pathway in your brain.
mhm,
And it's so easy for us to become dependent on whether it's alcohol, whether it's nicotine, whether it's shopping, shoes, it could be anything. And there definitely needs to kind of more conversations around that. So it's
there
another one of the
definitely needs to
fascinating
be.
topics for me. Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be more conversations around that, and during that time in my life, um, the the drinking had gotten to the point where I've lost amazing friendships, um, jobs, just so many things and I try now to explain, this was me trying to cope being undiagnosed. And some people get it, and some people are like, that's just another excuse, unfortunately. But you just keep learning and keep talking to people that understand, and keep building your tribe, and then you've got support, and even if you don't get it from a medically, you've got people who have been in your experience that can give you tell you what to say, that can show you how to advocate for yourself. And so I just want to try and surround myself with as many people as I can who have been through things similar to me and things unsimilar to me, so that I can learn more about, everybody's neurodivergencies. Because it just like you don't say autism, you say autisms. They're all different. I think we're all different in that entire neurodivergent rainbow. Rainbow, like we're all over the place. So no one person is the same, and I can take somebody's lived experience, even though I haven't lived it, and understand it.
I think as well, because of the experiences that we've had with the late diagnosis, I do honestly and truthfully think that it's made us more empathetic, even if people are not diagnosed with ADHD or autism. It's made us more empathetic because we know how it feels kind of to feel on the outskirts of life, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Did that
Looking
make sense to
in,
you? Yeah,
looking in,
yeah,
the masking, the
just
spoon theory,
desperately trying to, portray that you've got all of your ducks in a row and you're spinning all of your plates at the same time when internally you feel like you're just dying, not literally
Yeah,
dying,
yeah, and I
but
mean, for what I do for a living, people count on me. So, sometimes I don't have the luxury of letting my executive dysfunction or my task paralysis get the better of me. And so I do a lot of body doubling. I have body doubling apps for when I'm struggling, and that's been helpful. I'm working on a book right now, and so if I feel like I should be doing something, but I only want to do the things that I enjoy, give me dopamine rush. They give me the dopamine. I have 4,700 emails in my inbox. That's a problem.
I've got quite a lot as well, so you're not on your own with the emails.
Yeah, but it's those admin things that I don't like to do. And I'm great at creating content, and then it just sits. And I've got half cocked crazy ideas in Chat GPT. I call that my brain heart external hard drive. Because if I come up with an idea, I'll just throw it in there and then, come back to it later, before I forget about it. And so it's just like I'm great at doing the laundry, but putting it away? Absolutely not. I've got a doom pile in my bedroom that is so big right now.
I've got several doom poles scattered around the house.
But
My
yeah.
partner as well regularly he says to me regularly, like, he has to go wherever I've been, he has to go around shutting the drawers or the doors, the cupboard doors and stuff, because I've got such a habit of kind of, going into the kitchen, getting a drink, and leaving the drawer. Not that I get a
Or the
drink out of the
cabinet.
drawer, but
No,
yeah,
I don't do
yeah.
that. I don't do that. That's
Oh,
my son. He was so bad at that, and it was my biggest pet peeve. So I never leave a cabinet or a drawer open because of that's what he used to do when he was a kid. And he's actually living with me again right now, so that's fun. Um, and that's just a whole other layer of anxiety and stuff that's going on with him. And we haven't always had the best relationship, my son and I. We've had our ups and downs, you know and so it's getting good, though. It's getting good. It's getting better. We have very few blowups now. We're learning how to talk to each other.
yeah, and that is it's a skill in itself though, isn't it? Because I don't know about you, but when children are younger, they're almost easier to parent. But when parenting an adult child, which is what we're doing, my daughter's
Mhm.
27 now, parenting her now is it's very different. Like when she was 18, 21, adult, she's been independent since she was born because she's very strong willed. I have no idea where she gets that from. Not me, clearly. But it's like being a parent to adult children is just, it's almost completely and utterly different to younger children.
It's
Have you
so
found that?
hard, though, because mine's 33, just turned 33 this month. You still don't think of them as adults. And, you know my son's gotten in his fair share of trouble here and there, and I try to be as supportive as I can without giving into bad behavior. But at the same time, it's like I want him to share his location with me on our iPhones. I want to know where he's at. Like, if I can't get a hold of him and I see that, he was at 33rd Street, I know that means he went to jail. I mean, I need to know these things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and last summer, July 5th, actually, last summer, he was actually shot by one of his best friends
Goodness
at
me.
a 4th of July party. And, it was traumatic. It was I he was shot in his gut and went out his back, the bullet hit another person, and he had to have his colon reconstructed, part of his liver. Luckily, livers grow back, but, it was for 12 days, I didn't know where he was because they had him at, our ORMC, our big trauma 1 hospital, under a fake name and a fake birthday. So, for 2 weeks, I had no idea whether my kid was paralyzed. All I heard from anybody was that he was okay, and that was it. And we're still going through the legal issues with that. And so there's, a lot of other things that, that are kind of, you know,
Yeah.
messing with my ability to kind of self-regulate.
Yeah, of course. It's particularly after that. I mean, goodness me. It, it's just, I can't even almost fathom like the stress
Yeah.
and the worry that that put you in. Like, oh, yes, he's okay, but where is he? What's happened? Like,
Couldn't talk to him. He was even asking for his lawyer every day. They wouldn't let him talk to his lawyer. So that's a big civil liberty infraction, right, infractment right there.
just, yeah,
So, I mean, we're dealing with all of that right now as on top of everything else. So, it's just really one day at a time. Trying to stay busy, but understanding that if I run out of energy, if my batteries are dead by, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, um, trying to, um, you know, you know, make sure that my clients understand that, I might have to reschedule something maybe for earlier in the day because I'm already feeling like I'm not going to make it till 5 o'clock.
yeah,
I just didn't have enough spoons that day.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, that's a bit too late for my liking. Like,
yeah.
my brain just switches off by then. It's just like goodbye.
Yeah, and some days it's like the executive dysfunction is so bad that I am in bed watching British procedurals all day.
Yeah, yeah. And same for me. Like, yesterday I was super productive. I got loads of my assignments written. I felt like I could take on the world. It all was just flowing. And then today it's just like I've just sat here this morning for quite a while, just staring at the laptop at the Word document that I'm trying to write and finish. And just sitting there like,
That blank cursor.
yeah, just
Yeah. You know
it's
what?
just
I actually, I use
oh,
an app.
it's
I
painful.
use an app called Whisper. It's WISPR, and, you just talk and it types for you. And it's called Whisper because you can actually, like, whisper, if you're in a crowded room or something like that. And I found that once I start rambling on, then something starts to take form. Then I can go, "Okay, I can take this ramble, stream of consciousness and turn it into something good."
Yeah. Someone suggested, one of the other students that I've made friends with in the last 6 months. Unfortunately, she's doing her dissertation now, so she'll be graduating soon. But she's got some of the most amazing ideas. So she said for academic writing, rather than just sitting and staring at the blank Word document, one of the lecturers suggested to her that you literally just spend 5 or 10 minutes in the morning and just type. It doesn't have to be grammar,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be spelling. She said, just type literally just whatever you want to type about as well, because then that kind of it reacts the part of your brain that you need to kind
Mhm.
of to get the academic writing done. Now, don't get me wrong, right? If I didn't, I'll say this: if I didn't have to do academic writing, which obviously you can't not do it, but if I
Mhm.
didn't have to do it, then my degree would just be a breeze because I love learning. I have some, really kind of unique ideas. I get kind of feedback that my narrative is original because I always include ADHD
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But it's like spelling, grammar, punctuation, um, academic language. Come on now, for
That's
goodness
what
sake.
AI is for.
Well, exactly, but you can't tell them that because then they're going to be, oh my God, you're having a meltdown. But it's like that kind of part of my brain that's responsible for, my memory, my just daily planning and stuff like that. I'm just like, and academic writing literally is the thing that I find challenging. Now, that doesn't mean to say I can't do it because what I've learned to do is create a mind map. And then the mind map, I break down each assignment into chunks and then I add to it as I'm learning and then export that into a Word document. And then I've got like a,
Mhm.
a rough draft, let's say,
Right.
that I just go in and edit and, use all the fancy words that I'm thinking, oh God, it's not natural for me to talk in academic language, but obviously it's
Right.
needed for a degree. So yeah, but
Right.
I do
And
think,
that's a big thing that a lot of us do is we take this we look at this giant project and we're like, this is insurmountable. And, it's like climbing a mountain. Like, I'm never going to be able to do this. But if we can break it up into manageable chunks, um, and that's what I do. Break it up into manageable chunks. I've got my book probably about maybe a month out. I'm just kind of going in and, rereading and editing and doing things and just kind of, you know, kind of like when you're painting a painting and you never think it's done. But at one point in time, it's going to have to just be done, and I'm just going to have to be okay with it. But sometimes when I go in there and I start to kind of do this just stream of consciousness, all of a sudden now I'm in the zone. I look up, it's like 3 hours later. I'm like, "Whoa, what just happened?" Um, but my memory is getting really bad. I'm, like, forgetting the, like, simplest things, and a lot of it is, like, words. And I have, like, I was an avid reader. I have a pretty extensive vocabulary. And I'm like, "What is the word for this? What is the word? What is the word?" I think I'm gonna try, like, some kind of, like, brain function pill or something. See
I
if it
call them brain
helps.
farts. I have brain farts
Yeah,
regularly
and they're
where the
happening
brain
so
just
often
stops.
now.
It just stops. And I just can't think of the word that I was going to use. Then I forget what I
Yeah,
was saying. So, like,
yeah,
or a brain buffer. If you'd like to be more professional, it's a
yeah, if
brain
you're
buffer.
buffering, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like,
I
well,
have to reboot, like, control alt delete.
yeah, but then I call it a brain fart. I'm just like, oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Don't know what I was saying
It'll
and
come
how
to
I was.
me. It'll come
Yeah,
to me as soon as I focus on something else.
exactly. And then the minute someone else will say something, then I'll be like, oh, that was it. And then interrupt them. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God, like, please
Gosh,
just.
yeah. I have trained my partner that if I'm in the zone, you do not ask me a question, you do not interrupt me. I was unloading the dishwasher, which was very uncommon for me. And, my husband walked downstairs and he said, he asked me just a stupid question. And I looked up at him with so much rage and I was like, "No, I can't unload the dishwasher." I was like, "Don't do that to me." Or he'll be like, "Babe," like this weekend, he was like, "Do you wanna get out of the house? You haven't gone out of the house in like a week and a half." And I'm like, Not really. I was just in the zone. I was redoing my website. I was working on all these different projects, and I was just in the zone, and I was like, "No, when I wanna go out into public and I wanna be, um, public-y, if I want to people, I'll let you know, but right now I don't want to people."
Yeah, and do you know what? That's one thing, 'cause I in the past have always been quite sociable. I never minded being around a lot of people. I liked being around people. I liked talking. I liked socializing, at nighttime or just whatever. And as the perimenopause has gradually kind of just got worse and worse and worse, like
Mhm.
I just don't even want to leave the house some days because I'm like,
No.
it's too peoply out there. That's what I say. It's too
Yeah, it's too
too
people-y.
too peoply out. There's too many people out there. I get quite bad anxiety sometimes if we go too far away from our house because I panic because of the
Mhm.
fibro pain and fatigue can click in at any time. And then
Anytime. Yep.
if we're a certain amount of time away and we're not going to be able to get back, and I go into that panic state. And yeah, and I've always been quite nervous and anxious, but I've never wanted to
Yeah, I've
just stay at
always
home all
been
the time.
nervous. I was a nervous kid. I was the pukey
Yeah,
kid. I would get nervous about doing new things, going new places. I mean, I remember the first time I got on an airplane. I think I was in the 6th grade, and this is back in the day when they still had those tall ashtrays in the airports. And as soon as they called our flight number, I just leaned over and threw up in the, in the ashtray. But then I got on the plane. It was the funnest thing ever, and I love to fly now.
but
So,
yeah,
but I was always that kid that was, but then I was also a big risk taker though, at the same
oh yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah. I was always the one jumping off of things and diving off cliffs and, wanting to, and I still am. I'm still an adrenaline junkie. My husband, not so much. So he's so sweet though. He'll go to the parks with me because I live in Orlando. He'll go to the parks with me and he'll stand in line with me for a roller coaster up until the point where I have to like put my bag in a locker. Because usually it's like during like and the lines are so cool anyways, like and so then I'll put my bag or I'll just hand him my bag and he'll walk back down and he'll wait for me at the end and hold my purse.
bless him, bless him. I used to
Yeah.
like
He used to ride roller coasters with me, but then he got a really crazy bad bout of vertigo out of nowhere. And he's so afraid that it'll happen again. That he's laying off the roller coasters.
I've always had an issue with heights, but I would always go to theme parks and go on roller coasters and stuff. But then there was a couple of accidents in the UK at Alton Towers, I think, or there was an accident and yeah, people got stuck upside down, or
Mhm.
the actual thing they were sitting in came off, and yeah, and I was just like, no, thank you. It's like,
Yeah.
no thanks. Like, I'd be the adult pushing the kids out of the way at theme parks to kind of get in queue and stuff. Not badly. I mean, like being abusive. I just mean like eager to get in the line.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, oh no. It's just I don't think I could cope with the adrenaline. It's just like, yeah, it's weird. I
Yeah.
don't
I mean, and the biggest change for me really was, I mean, I was always on the go, 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 go every day. Let's go to the farmer's market. Let's go downtown. Let's go here. Let's go there. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm completely the opposite now. Like it's like the thought of like, I'm gonna have to take a shower. I'm gonna have to pick out clothes. I'm gonna have to put makeup on. No, it's not
yeah,
worth it.
yeah. Exactly. And it's all them kind of that internal dialogue that we have to have with ourselves when it's like, so you want to go and do this, and then the brain's like, oh no, because that means I'm gonna have to get a shower, gonna have to get
Yeah.
dressed, gonna have to
Yeah.
put
You
makeup
start
on.
going through the steps
Yeah, no,
and then
thank you.
it's
I'd rather just
overwhelming.
yeah, exactly. I'd rather just stay at home. Let's just stay at home and watch a film. let's not go out.
exactly,
So, yeah, I wonder if that's a
exactly.
menopause thing or whether that's just the ADHD side of
For
us. It's
me, it
just
was
that,
definitely the ADHD going from a 2 to a 12 when menopause came along. Then because there's no other I can't think of any other thing that happened or changed in my life that 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 could it would that coincides with it. It just had to be that. And that's okay, I spend a lot less money
yeah, apart from
if I'm not
shoes.
going out all the time.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I do think it is like, personally for me as well, I do think it's perimenopause and the ADHD. Definitely. I just think that, with the big bouts of anxiety and yeah, it's too many steps to do just to leave the house. So I'd rather just sit
Mhm.
in my pajamas and, chill out indoors than kind of get ready to go out. It's just,
Well, yeah, I mean, ever since COVID, my wardrobe consists of, leggings and, a work top. Like, that's it. And comfortable but when I go out, when I do wanna go out, I go all out. Like, I wanna get dressed up, yeah, I really wanna, when I do get the urge to go do something. But, a lot of the things that I've been struggling with too is just, like, when my friends are making plans and I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great," and then the day comes and I'm just like, "No." Or if I always try to make appointments, like a doctor's appointment or something, 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 like if I have to go out of the house in the mornings, because if I do it if it's in the afternoon, I'll be frozen until it's time to go do that thing. So, I've been trying to figure out how to kind of trick myself into doing more things, and the more I learn, the easier it gets because knowledge is power. And if I can say, "Oh, I'm doing this because of this," then I can let go of it a little bit better.
I call that the ADHD waiting room because literally, if you've
Waiting
got an
room.
appointment, yeah, the ADHD waiting room because, like, I prefer having appointments in the morning because even if it's like in the afternoon or just at lunchtime or what worst case scenario on a Friday, a Thursday or a Friday any week, then literally I can spend the rest of the whole week like in my ADHD waiting room, frozen and
Mhm.
not able to do anything because I'm waiting for that
Yeah.
to happen.
I'm gonna use that. That's a good one, the waiting room. Yeah.
It's
That's exactly what it is because
and
it's just like and it's just like I watch my husband just go from task to task, and he's just got the best work ethic, and he just is great at what he does. He's a recruiter too, and I'm like, "How do you just do things like that?" Like, how does it come so natural? And I think a lot of times, before I was diagnosed, I would compare and contrast myself with him a lot, and it made me not feel good, because he's just always just so great at what he does, and he and it wasn't until I got my diagnosis and I started really learning about it that I was like, I was doing myself such a disservice. Like, why can't I be more like him? Why can't I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym? Why can't I, why do I wait until the 11th hour to get this project done, but I still nail it and knock it out of the park? But I worry about it and I shame about it and I guilt spiral about it the whole time up until it's like, you have to do this now. Yeah. So I'm working on that guilt spiral. I actually yesterday had a consultation with a new client, and he was telling me about his wife. He has ADHD and his wife's as an ADHD psychiatrist, or psychotherapist. And I was like, "Huh, I've been looking for a new therapist." And I was like, "I don't know if it would be weird if she was my therapist, but I'm your career transition coach." I don't know if that would work, but she called me last night and we had just the best time. We spent like 20 minutes on the phone. She's just like super just like me. She's bubbly, she's no bullshit, F-bombs and all the good stuff. And and I was just like, I want to meet with you tomorrow and see if we can make this work. If we can if I can work with you as well as working with your husband. And so because I really finally found somebody that I think got it.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
so hard. It's so hard to find a good therapist.
exactly, exactly. And yeah, it is. And I've had CBT, and I've had psychotherapy in the past, but can't afford to pay for it now. But I think it's really important for us to have, you know, ADHD or neurodivergent therapists, because I love that when you spoke to her on the phone, it's like you've been best friends for all of your life. And you,
Really?
it
Mhm.
makes me go goose pimply because I'm like, oh my God, like they're the moments that I think we've missed a lot in our past, don't you think? And I
Mhm.
think it's really important. Like I've made some of the most beautiful friends through my university. We're all studying different things. We're all, but we've all got ADHD or we're all neurodivergent. And it's like the relationships that I have with them are so precious because
Mhm.
we get it. We don't have to. And like you said with the lady, the therapist yesterday, like when you find someone who just gets you without you having to give them the inside leg measurement of your backstory, and they just get it
Mhm.
and you just hit it off like that. It's just it's
Yeah.
incredible when it happens.
Yeah, and I definitely she's a trauma therapist too, and I definitely wanna finally peel, the Band-Aid off of that and start talking about it and start dealing with that. Because I've got a lot of, childhood stuff that I've just kinda shoved away. I haven't spoken to my father in, 30 years. And um I really want to kind of peel that start peeling the layers away of that onion and how it's affected me growing up, how it's affected me in my adult life, and trying to kind of come to terms with a little bit more of that, because there's the guilt of no contact sometimes, but when it's very highly warranted, you even still feel guilty a little bit. Father's Day was just came and went, and I was like, but, I just kinda just pack it away, box it away, and put it in the back of the attic brain, and I think it's probably now that I've come so far, with understanding my neurodivergency and the effect that that's had on me my whole life,
Yeah,
I'm ready to, like, unpack that box now. So, that will be interesting. See how
yeah,
things go with that.
yeah. I mean, equally, I've got a lot of trauma in my past, from mostly from my mother and my brother. Um, and yeah, I also have, like basically, my mother lied to me for 48 years of my life, telling me that my dad never loved me, he didn't want to see me, he was not interested at all in anything remotely related to me. And she even used to manipulate me up till a few years ago, saying, if you ever talk to him, me and you are never going to have a relationship.
That's
And
awful.
I went to go and I've been in contact with him since 2017, and we have such a like it's weird because I've never felt like I fitted anywhere in my family. Definitely I'm completely different to my mum and my brother. I get on really well with my dad, my second dad, stepdad, who was my mum's last husband. But me and my biological dad, like we literally couldn't get any more like each other, even if we had tried. And it's a great psychology, nurture and nature conversation. But we've been
Yeah,
back in contact for a while now, and even down to shoes and clothes. Like seriously, we are so similar, it's unbelievable. And I went to go and stay with him 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, and it was the first time I'd been there without my daughter, because my daughter was staying at her boyfriend's. Her boyfriend lives up in Leeds, which is further up north in the UK, and I mean she was staying with him, and I was staying with my dad. So it was just me and him. And the first night we were there, we just sat there, and like he's said to me so many times in the past, like that he still feels really angry towards my mum for what she did in the past. And
Mhm.
it was the first time that I've said to him, well, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, she stopped me from seeing you. She kept me away from you. Like, I went to court. He even went to court. He had court orders from a judge. And still she would just not kind of let him see me. And I sat there and
Yeah,
I
that's terrible.
literally just went deadly. He said, I lost every ounce of colour in my face. And I went dead silent. And he was like, are you okay? I was like, she always told me that you didn't want to see me. And him being him, because he's a flat cap 75-year-old Yorkshireman,
Mhm.
said a few F words and bombs, and then told me his side. And I literally was burst into tears, and I was sobbing so much that I literally couldn't stop crying. It was
That's
really, really,
decades of your life that you could have had a parent that
yes.
was healthy for you.
Yeah, and he doesn't know everything that happened to me in my childhood. He doesn't need to know everything. He knows enough, and what he already knows is too much for my
Mhm.
liking, because it
Mhm.
goes to show the true strength of his character. Because when I found this out, and we had the conversation, and I told him from my point of view, and then he told me his experiences, and then we kind of started unpacking it together. Because I said to him, I don't understand why you're so angry, because you never wanted to see me. And he was like, yes, I fucking did. Because he's, I'm just said a naughty swear word, but
Course.
and it's like, it just got, but my mum was really ill at the time. And I was still in contact with her, not with my brother, but with her. And since then, I've not spoken to her at all. It was February
Good for you.
2024, because I was there during when it was his birthday. Um, and yeah, since then I've not spoken a word to her. And he was like, a few months later, after I'd been home for a little while, he said to me, how's your mum getting on? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, why don't you know? I said, because I haven't spoken to her. And he was like, why? I said, because I don't want to. And he's, why? And I said, because of what happened. And he said, but at the end of the day, she's your mother, and that should give her at least. And I was like, at least a little
No,
bit of respect. And I was like, no, I'm sorry,
no,
but
I don't
no,
buy that. I don't buy
no,
that.
not
That's that
at all.
that would be like somebody telling me to speak to my father. At the end of the day, he's your father. Yeah, he's also molested my older brother and my older sister, my friends, and I don't know if it was me or not. And so that's not a father. That's not even a human. And with that level and the more I'm learning more and more about even him abusing adults, what he did to my mother. My mom had a really, really, really tough childhood. She came from the silent generation. Her parents didn't talk about anything. So then now we have the boomers who are our parents, and they are coming from the silent generation. They're just barely able to talk about things. And then we've got the Gen Xers who finally figured out, in all of our feralness, we found our voice.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
um, and so I think it's just really our generation that is really, especially women of our age, that are really sounding the alarm, because we're like, hey, this happened to us because of what happened to our parents, because of what happened to their parents, and it ends now. The stigma, the silence, rub some dirt on it. It ends.
and
Yeah.
the best way that we can do that is cutting toxicity and toxic
Mhm.
people out. Like if it was anyone but a family member, like I wouldn't accept the bullying. I wouldn't accept. I'm not the microphone off again. I wouldn't accept the bullying. I wouldn't take any of it. Like, literally,
No, no, and
you
that's
know,
exactly the lens that I look at it in. If
and
this was
it's
not somebody that I'm related to, would I have anything to do with that person?
exactly, exactly.
No.
And the answer is simply no. Simply no. And I mean, to make it worse, like my mum used to get me dressed every Saturday morning, and I'd sit with my coat on the step with my rucksack on my back, waiting for my dad to come and pick me up. And she'd know full well that she's not even allowing him to come and get me. So,
So she would set you up for disappointment
yeah,
purposely.
yeah,
That's sick.
yeah,
That is sick and twisted. And good for you for standing your ground and going no contact, because to do that to a child, I mean, to do that to a child, um, is just so profoundly evil.
yeah. And
I'm
you know
so
what?
sorry.
No, thank you for saying that. Um, it kind of, you know, I don't usually go this deep, but when I find someone that I feel comfortable to talk about this stuff with, and funnily enough, recently it was Father's Day in the UK recently as well.
Mhm,
And my stepdad or my dad, I've got two dads. So
mhm.
I've got my mum's third husband, who she's separated from now. He's been in our family for over 33 years now, and he has always kind of been my protector. He was always on my side. He could never understand why she treated me and my brother so differently. He just couldn't, and he's always had my back. And it's like my biological dad always says every Father's Day, tell Keith, who is the southern dad, the third husband,
Mhm.
thank you for protecting you and looking after you when you were younger and when you were growing up. And that just shows
Well,
the true character of
yeah.
both of the men, because, you know, they genuinely have always had my best interests at heart. They've loved me regardless of what I've done. And trust me, I've done some crazy stuff, you know, addiction, alcoholism, like, you know, rebellious kind of bullshit that I'm not going to listen to anything or anyone. And I'm going to
Mhm,
wind my mother up on purpose because, you know, she's just horrible to me all the time. And like, you know, things I'm not very proud of. But if you think about a child, like when you're growing up, if you grow up in that really toxic environment, if you grow up always kind of being pushed away, then you
mhm,
start behaving in a way to get attention. And whether that's good
mhm.
behavior or bad behavior is
Usually,
going to
it's
get
any
you
behavior
attention.
that'll get attention.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, both me and my brother are diagnosed with ADHD. I was diagnosed first. He's 8 years younger than me, but it's all right for him to have ADHD. But why do I always have to have everything that he's got? She came to the frigging appointment with me when I was being assessed. I'm like,
Well, you know what is an interesting, you had mentioned something earlier about you never understood why your mother treated you so differently than your brother. But earlier you were talking about when you reconnected with your dad, how absolutely similar you are. And I think a big part of maybe of her pushing you away, treating you as less than, it was because you reminded her of your dad, but you didn't know it.
no, exactly, exactly. And then in my mind, I'm like, well, he never wanted to see me or have anything to do with me anyway. So well, I'm like someone that I don't really know. And yes, she always used to say to me, you're selfish, just like your dad. You've got a bad temper and you're selfish like your dad. And guess why we had a bad temper? Because she used to frigging wind us up. She used to know
Mhm,
exactly what to say, how to say it, and knowing that we can react quite quickly because we are the same in that respect as well. And it's like, yeah, I know, you just like your dad. You just like dad. You're selfish, just like your dad. There's not a selfish bone in me. Like, I could never understand that concept. And even my
yeah,
brother used to say, oh, yeah, that's my sister. That's Emma. She's selfish. She's the selfish one in the family. I'd like, but he'd heard that from her, if that
of
makes sense.
course.
And it's just like
Yeah,
all of these things that happened. Like when I was a kid, she took 3 overdoses. I was the one that found her all the time. And, you know, there were massive overdoses and stuff, like even down to simply her saying that her mental health crisis started after she had me because of postnatal depression. I was a frigging baby. How can you
right.
blame me for that? Like, I'm an innocent baby. I never slept. Funnily enough, that's a symptom of ADHD. Not sleeping a lot is a huge symptom for babies. I used to cry a lot.
Mhm.
I would never sleep for longer than 15 minutes at a time. My fault. How can you blame a child, a baby, when it's just been, it's just like, what? The woman just doesn't, yeah, doesn't
Yeah.
really compute. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and a lot of that goes is just classic narcissism. It's classic blame shifting. It's not taking accountability for anything. And then to have your little brother grow up listening to this, and that's his reality, because it's coming from mom. And why would mom say it if it wasn't true? So that's just real classic. I'm so happy that you got to reconnect with your father and learn the truth, and adjust your life accordingly, so that you're taken care of and you're supported,
yeah,
as opposed to being, manipulated your whole
yeah.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, that
hell
was a
yeah.
bit deeper than I normally go, but we got onto the conversation of parents, and it's just, yeah, so apologise if conversation has upset any of the viewers, but I'm fine. Talking about it actually is better for me because it just helps me make sense of the fact that it's almost cathartic when I talk
It
about
is
it.
cathartic. It's
It
cathartic, and
it's weird.
it's you releasing that stigma of, "This is we don't talk about this," that our parents learned from their parents. And I'm all about talking about it. I'm all about ripping the Band-Aid off. I'm all about speaking truth to power. And in this case, the power was my family. But I got really lucky. I've got an uncle that's been like a dad to me my whole life. My stepdad my mom and my stepdad got married when I was 19, and he's never had any kids, and so I'm his baby.
Yep,
Anything I want, I ask
yep,
my mom, she says no. I ask my
yep,
stepdad, he says yes.
yep. Standard for me as well, yeah, you know,
It's really sad at 50 years old. I'm still like, "Mom won't give me this."
yeah, yeah. It's funny because yeah, I have a great relationship with my stepdad. It's just easier to call him a stepdad, but I call him dad to his face because that's just the respectful way for me to do it. Um,
Mhm,
and I think, you know, he has never treated me differently. I've always, even before I started calling him dad, which it took me many, many years to call him dad, because I used to say to him, I've already got a dad. He just never cared
mhm.
about me. Anyway, he did, obviously, so I know that that's nonsense now, but it took me a long time to kind of get comfortable with calling him dad and stuff because I was the difficult teenager. I was 14 when they first met, and yeah, you can imagine, like, that rebellious kind of, I
Yeah,
was not a
that
pleasant person.
14 is a rough age for
Yeah,
girls,
yeah,
especially
but
to introduce somebody new.
exactly. And, you know, there'd just been so much stuff that had happened, and we'd moved from Leeds down to Essex. And, you know, there was just so much. Like, my brother's dad was physically, mentally, and emotionally abusive. He used to lock us all in the bedrooms and stuff. It was just horrendous when we lived with him. And, you know, we moved basically away from everything and everyone that I knew. You know, I was regularly changing schools. And then my mum met her third husband, and he became dad to my brother quite early on, because I
Yeah.
think my brother was only 3 or 4 when they got together, so it's easier. I think possibly the younger the children, the easier
Mhm.
it is for them to bond with a step parent,
Yeah, I
blended
mean, trying
family.
to bond with a 14-year-old girl is like trying to bond with a Tasmanian devil, like
Yes, exactly,
a
exactly.
rabid
Um,
Rottweiler.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. My mum used to call me Tasmanian Devil because I'd come in, I'd fuck everything up and be like, "Oh," and then go again. And yeah, so, you know, it's quite a good anagram or metaphor or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
but it didn't matter really what I said or what I did. He always, you know, he loved me, he protected me. In fact, they used to argue. He used to argue with her a lot because she'd always only pick on me, and
Mhm.
he used to stand up for me a lot. And I think it takes, like, the true strength of character for a man who is not biologically directly related to a
Yeah.
child, but
To
is
stick up and give you that
yeah,
normalcy
yeah,
and a sense of being
protection.
self and protection.
Yeah,
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 it takes a lot. That's a good guy.
exactly.
No wonder why
And
he divorced your mom.
yeah, well, exactly. Funnily enough, she only hates on me and her ex-husband, not anyone else.
Well, aren't you lucky?
Exactly, exactly. But do you know what? I'm laughing, but it's been difficult at times. But for the most part, I wouldn't
Mhm.
change my life as it is now. And every time I've considered kind of going and seeing her or speaking to her because she's in a care home now, and she's in her late 70s, and she's getting, and then it's weird. It's almost like my body starts reacting when I'm just like
You
2 or 3 seconds
physically have a
in.
reaction to a
Yeah,
thought.
yeah, and no, thank you. Like, my complex PTSD, and PTSD is always triggered, even when people talk about my brother or my mother, and I just think that's my body's physical reaction
Telling you
telling
no.
me absolutely not. No, thank
Mhm.
you at all. I don't want people like that in my life. I have a partner. My partner's mum is just the most beautiful woman. Like, she
Mhm.
treats me like I deserved. She loves me unconditionally.
Mhm.
It's like
My
I have my
mother-in-law is the same. She's just an absolute
it's
doll. She absolutely adores me. I actually met her, for the very first time, her husband, my partner's stepdad, when we picked them up for the airport for our wedding.
ah,
I was like, "Yeah, hi, I'm marrying your son."
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I think
But
it's
she's
go on,
She's
sorry.
great. She's wonderful. And she's so supportive of my partner and me and my son and my parent. Like she just always is wanting everybody to be okay and how's everybody doing and I'm usually on the phone with her every other week trying to figure out how to fix her TV or the Alexa's not working or something like that.
Yeah. It's like my
We're
dad
gonna
and the internet, isn't it? It's like,
Next time we
yeah,
go, we're gonna install, like, nanny cams so we
yeah,
can actually, like, walk her through things.
yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, so, I mean, it's just been a whirlwind, and it's been just the last 6 years have been, um, kind of so many changes and so many like learning so much about myself and going through so many changes and having changing my career, starting my own business, like so much has happened that it's just super exciting for me right now. Um and the more I get to work with people that are struggling in this job market, ADHD and neurodivergent professionals, oftentimes there's career gaps, there's short uh, employment history, or it's nonlinear. They kind of hop from this to this to this to this to this, trying to figure out what is working for them. And so when you just go to the standard, apply for a job online, the ATS system is not gonna see what it's looking for. You've got to get in front of somebody that can actually hire you. You've got to get in front of somebody where you can because I mean, we're problem solvers. We have superpowers. Um I am an absolute um pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is my superpower. Don't ever watch a movie or a TV show with me. Don't ever. Because in 20 minutes within the movie, I've
I
got
could
it.
tell you
Shoot
who did
by
it. Yeah,
second episode, it's done. Now I'm just waiting to see if I was right.
yeah, same.
um, and so that's my big superpower is pattern recognition. And I'm also like extremely creative when it comes to my writing, and things like that. And so, identifying what my clients' strengths are and then and then presenting them as a solutions-based hire to a company and someone within that company, either that would be above them or the person above them, where we know what keeps these people up at night, and this is how my client can solve problem A, B, and C, and has done it in the past, and really positioning themselves. Because when even if the resume got through the ATS system, as soon as a human sets eyes on it, they're not going to get it. They're usually a junior sourcer or an HR person. They're not going to be able to see what we can accomplish when we go directly to the hiring leaders. And that's basically kind of what I do in a nutshell. Is in along with all of the resume rewrites and all that unfun stuff that everybody does. My approach is different in that I do the research on the companies that they are in the industries that they want to be in, identify the leaders, and write them, whether it's an in mail on LinkedIn, whether it's an email directly to them, or even just a connection request. I write them for them so that they're not asking for a job. They're showing themselves as a solutions a solution to problems that they're having and within that. Because every industry, every silo within that. If you're talking about somebody who wants to be, kind of like a business process operations person, sales and operations never communicate well. That's always a problem. And there's, and so just identifying those things and really giving them the the courage to do something different,
Yeah.
because the same old, it doesn't work for us. It just doesn't. Apply to more jobs, just keep going, go to a networking event, this, that, the other. The boilerplate job advice just doesn't work for neurodivergent people. And so I really want to break it down, and even you know, you don't have and you don't have to have a diagnosis to work with me. You don't even have to be neurodivergent to work with me, because oftentimes I will find when working with somebody that there's some things there, and I'm like, huh, and I can relate to them, even if they don't think they have ADHD, even if they don't have ADHD. I mean, this job market is bad enough to make anybody have RSD. So just kind of niching into that, and it's really been the last few months that I've really, really niched down into rewriting my website, just kind of rebranding, if so to speak. And I've got people that are finding me now and coming out of the woodwork and like, hey, I love that article you wrote the other day. It was about AI. There's a company called Workday. It's a company that basically is an applicant tracking um, company, and they were finding that AI was weeding out people that had nonlinear experience, that people that had um, um, short amounts of times in their in jobs, and people that had gaps, and that should make anybody that's that has ADHD sit up and take notice. But the information, I mean, and believe me, AI is making the whole process better on both sides. I can take if somebody, one of my clients finds a job they like, I can take that and I can find 5 or 10 more just like it that they might have missed. And on the hiring side, on the company side, you know, information ATS systems have been around for decades, decades. Doing a keyword search, then giving the resume a score, whether it moves forward or not. But with AI, it's going to learn, it's going to keep learning, but it can also learn bad habits. So if AI is seeing, okay, this person, um, they're seeing the patterns like job hoppers or gaps in career or this or that, or somebody's pivoting into something that is going to be more aligned with who
yeah,
they are
yeah.
as a neurodivergent professional. And if they see that the recruiters are kicking those people out for whatever reason, it's going to learn bad habits too. So I mean, good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out. So it's just important for employers to understand that it's continually learning. It'll get better or worse. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't worked since 2019 because I called it at the time a mental breakdown, but it was burnout. I had severe burnout. You know, I'd been
Mhm.
pushing myself to work. I was diagnosed with fibro, diagnosed with ADHD, and then fibro. And my mental health was just the worst it's ever been. And now I understand that as severe burnout. And I haven't worked
Mhm.
since then. And so the challenge for me in looking for a job or kind of how do I explain that gap in my CV or resume, as you call
Mhm.
it. I like that resume. It's a nice word.
Yeah,
You
resume
know,
is what we call them over here. Unless
exactly.
unless unless you're like a PhD student, then they call them a CV.
Okay. Okay. Well, no, I'm not there yet, but there is a possibility of that. But yeah, so there's a huge gap in my resume because, and then I've had a few job interviews, and unfortunately, I've got tongue-tied and brain buffered, and just
Mhm.
completely and utterly fell apart and not been
Yeah,
successful. And even though a few of the interviews were at my university and they're people that I know and that I work with, as in not work with, but worked with in my advocacy stuff that I do because I'm a huge advocate for neurodivergent students in my university and stuff. And it's like I've still kind of, and I don't know, I'm out of practice. I had a job interview for like 10 years now, I think.
Mhm.
2015, 11 years was my last successful job interview. And so it wasn't until I'd kind of was sitting in the RSD of the second one and I was thinking,
Mhm.
oh, it's just what's the point? You know what? And then I'm like, actually, um, I haven't, so I should have practiced. And it's just all of these things that kind of trigger the RSD and also the trauma from the past and stuff.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's such a difficult job market now.
It is. It's
And
so
it's,
difficult.
and then for me, it's been learning about how to kind of articulate my ADHD in a way that would seem like it's benefiting a company if I work for them. And I
For
know
sure, and there's
it
definite ways to do that.
exactly.
I developed a program for my clients, and it's based on the STAR interview technique. So these are situational based questions, like tell me about a time when. And so basically, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. And so you can go back and think of a time that you were asked to, solve a problem. What was the situation? What what was your plan? What tasks did you set up? What was the actionable items that you took? And then what was the result? And it helps you build those answers. And then at the very end, it also has like, the most common interview questions to expect, how to answer them, what's a good example, what's a bad example. But at the very end, it actually has you can actually record yourself, and it'll give you random questions based on a situational thing. Tell me about a time when, and you can record yourself. It gives you 3 minutes. You can record yourself answering the question and then play it back and see if you were talking too fast, too slow, too many stumbled over words, and that allows you to practice. So I'll send it to you.
That'd be amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have asked for reasonable adjustments during the interviews that I had. But I didn't because I didn't know it was a thing that I could ask for. I had the questions and I'd written the answers, but it was weird because one of them I asked who was going to be interviewing me, and then there was a person that I didn't know was gonna be there and that I'd never met before, and that just literally put me off,
Mhm.
and then I couldn't do
Yeah.
anything after that, and yeah, that was a job that I'd been doing voluntarily, for over a year, but they turned it into a paid position, and but it was just that one thing, and I
One
kept
that one
getting
thing that
yeah.
you weren't expecting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kept getting tongue-tied, I kept it was just it was the most dreadful interview, and I think that the 2 people that interviewed me that I already knew felt so guilty, but they did it on a point system, and I didn't get enough points, so I didn't perform as well as other students and, yeah, I just completely fell apart, but at the time, it's like the RSD and that kind of,
Mhm.
you're not good enough, you don't fit the mold, like, you're too outspoken. Because I just say things as they are. I try to be respectfully honest, but unfortunately,
Mhm.
sometimes I am too blunt, my deliverance is out, and I'm,
Yeah, I can be
yeah,
the same way. I
exactly.
can be the same way.
Exactly, and but it's like, I think a lot with people that have just met me or that maybe don't know me kind of as well as other people do. They see that as I'm being rude and disrespectful. Well, I'm not. I'm just calling out the BS. I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm just saying something as it is. And
Right.
but unfortunately, I think that goes in against me because I'm always
Yeah.
the one
And
that's
I can honestly say that that was the reason why I lost my last position as when I was building that executive recruitment division for the healthcare system, because I had, 14 hospitals, and then so each hospital's got a president, a vice president of ops, a vice president of nursing, this and that, a CNO, blah, blah, blah. So 14 hospitals, each one has their own little, um, personality, that everybody's different, and it just happened to there was a couple of people, out of dozens and dozens of executives that didn't like my delivery sometimes, and unfortunately, because they were executives, instead of coming to me or coming to my boss, they would go to the chief human resources officer at corporate and complain. And a lot of it wasn't even true. So, for me, I was just like, at that point in time, I was like, you know what? I need to do my own thing. And my perimenopause was getting worse. My symptoms were getting worse from all of my ADHD and my OCD, my anxiety, my depression. And I was like, you know what? I just don't think I'm cut out for the 9 to 5 anymore. So that's when Trajecta came to life. And since then, it's great because yes, I've got action items that I have to do. I have deliverables that I have to get to my clients. Anytime one of my clients gets an interview, or even when they apply to a job, I go into research mode. I find out who the hiring manager is for that position, who's above him. I get their names, their contact information. I write the intros, and I get them to my clients so that they can go from the bottom up and the top down.
yeah,
Because if something comes from the top down, it's going to get a lot more notice. And so and even when they're going into an interview, I find out who they're interviewing with. I do a deep dive depending on how much information is out there. I can give them even in detailed information down to this person is really talkative. They're gonna control the conversation a lot. So you're gonna have to, get in when you can. Or this person is just a Q&A fire, rapid fire. They don't have, they're very stoic. They're this, they're that. And so I can send and then I also do a big deep dive on the company and the industry and where they're at in the industry. So that way, when my candidates or my clients are going into an interview, half the time they know more about the company than some of the employees.
yeah.
So it's just preparing them, and giving them the knowledge and giving them the confidence building. I even had a gentleman tell me the other day that he was interviewing and they said he did too good. He They felt that he was rehearsed or possibly when it was a possibly using, and he said, "Well, I mean, I can understand in the day and age of AI that, you might think that I was, cheating or using something but all I did was research your company." Now, you wanna talk about a kick in the RSD, and D stands for dick.
Yeah.
He was too good. And he actually went into a really kind of a dark place for 3 weeks, didn't apply to any jobs, was just afraid to. Like, if you bomb an interview, great, okay, I can get that. But if you nail it and they say you sounded rehearsed, you sounded too good, like, how do you come back from that? Like, and so those are the types of things that I do. And working with neurodivergent professionals, a lot of that is it's not just the doing of the things and the writing of the this and the coaching of the that. A lot of it is talking about what they're experiencing and where they're at on their scale and what they struggle with. And so it's I'm a certified ADHD coach. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I don't pretend to be. I just take my lived experience with 25 years of corporate recruiting and my lived experience with neurodivergency and marry those two and just try to help them as best I can. Conquer something that, like I said, seems unattainable. The mountain seems too tall, but when we break it up into bite-sized pieces, then it's a lot more manageable.
Yeah. And that's what we need, isn't it? Like I was talking about, like, writing an assignment. Like, if I sit and stare at the screen and think, where do I start? And I'm kind of looking at everything as a whole, then
Mhm.
you get stuck in that, I don't know what to do first.
Yeah,
And
you
so,
spent you
yeah,
spent 10 minutes staring at a cursor blinking.
exactly. So, yeah, I love that you're doing that. But for people that are transforming and applying for jobs, I think that's a great niche. Um,
It's
just
so it's so what's the word
valued,
I'm looking for?
valued,
Um,
estimated.
yeah, well, it's underserved. There's just not a like I said, I Googled, ADHD career transition coach, neurodivergent career transition coach. One person's name came up on Google.
So it's definitely
One.
needed then,
Yeah,
desperately.
especially as we're, the job market was supposed to be such that we were waiting for the boomers to retire, and then there was going to be a lot of management positions to fill. But with the economy in the US as it is, the boomers aren't retiring. So we've got all of these people, coming out of college, struggling, mid-career, struggling because we really thought that there was going to be this huge exodus of the boomers retiring, and it's not happening. So there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and everybody's different. And I take every client I work with differently, because we're all special unicorns, and we're all different. We're all snowflakes, and we're all different. There's no two of us that are the same, and
Yeah.
you got to take it like that, and just try your best to, share your experience and your knowledge and what you can and how you can relate to those people. And so it's been a wild ride for me, but it's been really, really, just I feel like I'm doing something good as opposed to, just being a career coach and kind of reverse recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, career coach and what you're doing now sounds like two completely kind of different things. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Well,
you,
yeah, but a lot of times I'm working with people that are in their job, and they, maybe they have annual review that they're worried about, and they're nervous about their annual review. I help them with that. Or maybe they're up for a promotion, or they want to get a promotion, or they want, so it's not just all job search. A lot of it is helping them, and even like finding the vocabulary and the people to talk to for accommodations that they didn't even know they had.
yeah. Yeah, them reasonable adjustments. Like, I remember when I started studying, and one of my first study skills tutors that I had said to me, "What do you need? Like, what do you struggle with?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Like, I would, like, and I can imagine that it's very similar, like what you've just said in employment. Like, if you've got to have an annual review, or you've got, whatever, and you're like, articulating, I don't know, because I've never studied a degree 100% online, and I don't know what I need, and it's like, but then they look blankly back at you, and I'm like, "You're the one that's meant to know what I need, because you're the professional, so to speak," and it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, I can imagine that that's similar for, some of your clients as well. It's like, what reasonable, or what adjustments, I know now. I do
Mhm.
know now, because I've done a lot of hyper focusing on it, and I know, what works and what doesn't work well for me, which is a bit of a 2 steps forward, 10 steps back, because each day is different. Um,
Mhm.
so, and I need different things on different days. But
Of course.
I think for a lot of neurodivergent people, whether it's in education, or at work, or just even kind of in their daily family life, or we often don't really know what we need, do we? Because so I
No.
think it's great the work you're doing, like enabling people, kind of supporting them to find out what they need, and then how to
Mhm.
articulate that is just, yeah, that's
Yeah.
just amazing.
And it's scary too. When I've had companies that I was honest with my with my even pre ADHD, honest with my anxiety and depression and things like that, and was looked at strangely. And then I have had companies and employers that I was completely 100% honest, and I'm talking to, my boss. We were spending lots of time in the car and chatting, and he ended up seeing so many things in me that he was seeing in his son. He actually went and had him tested. And he had, and so, there's, you never know what you're going to get. Are people going to treat you differently? Are people going to inspect your work more? Are they going to second guess your decisions? Do you even have that conversation? If so, when and to who? And how? And it's scary for a lot of people because they don't want to be looked at as different. We've been masking our whole lives.
Yeah. And I think, I kind of started unmasking not long after I started my psychology studies. I had some strength-based coaching back then, and I found out that I actually do have strengths, and then learned how to harness them and use them to my
Hmm.
potential, and then through that process just started unmasking, and now I find it I mean, I probably would not say I'm like 1,000,000% unmasked completely, because you wear different masks for different environments that you're in. But for the most part, it's exhausting. Perimenopause
It
and
is exhausting.
ADHD and energy levels and, pain and everything else that's going on.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
I can't be
I mean,
bothered.
even not without a fibromyalgia diagnosis, there are physical pain associated with neurodivergency. Um, yeah, and it can get bad. And so I think that The more that we talk about it and the more that we're honest with ourselves and the more that we talk about the uncomfortableness, the uncomfortable topics, the better it's gonna get, and the more people are gonna hear, and the more that the healthcare system's going to change. And so that's really kind of, and I just want people to feel comfortable in their own skin again. I didn't feel that way for, you know, 40 years of my life. And now I do. And you're right, the masking is different. I do mask in situations that that I'm not completely comfortable. I'll still bust out that mask, but, at least I'm acknowledging it now. Like, I see it happening, I understand why it's happening, and I let it happen, and then over time, maybe I can kinda, chip away at that mask. But at the end of the day, um, I wouldn't I would have loved to have been diagnosed in my 20s. I think that would have saved me a lot of bad decisions and because I was doing all of the things, I was, you know, extremely impulsive, extremely, like just super hyperactive, um, and that led to things like promiscuity and all kinds of other things, that I look back now and I go, "Man, that would have been nice." But I think now that we're learning about this in the age of so much information that is at our fingertips. I learn something new every day. I literally do. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's just another thing in my encyclopedia of who I am that I can I can examine."
Yeah. Yeah. And there is something new to learn most days. Um,
Yeah.
and I can't think of anything right now because, it's just I can't. But yeah, I do find it fascinating to kind of learn different things and join dots that someone said about handwriting on social media recently. And I'm like, my handwriting is horrendous. And that can be linked to ADHD because the executive dysfunction and
Mhm.
the impatience I also have bad coordination issues. I bang into things all the
Gosh,
time.
yeah.
And it's like, but all of these things that I don't necessarily think are connected in some way or another. And it's
Yeah.
like,
But yeah, the corner of my couch downstairs, when I go downstairs and I walk around the couch, I've hit that thing so many times, it needs to be cleaned.
yeah, I'm always banging
I
into things, always.
Yeah, I walk into walls,
Yeah.
I can't walk a straight line if I turn my head. Like,
I'm the trip over a flat surface person. The
yeah,
amount of
I'm
times I've
definitely
done it and then tried to style it out as if I was doing a little dance. And then see, when I used to work in an office, I'd get up to go and speak to someone or something, and I'd trip over nothing, basically. It's just, and then I'd try and style it out. I don't know why I'm saying this now, but it's funny. I used to style it
that is
out as though
funny.
I was doing a little bit of a dance and then quickly look round to see if any instant happy. And I'm just like, when I left that, when I had to stop being working there, like people must I was it was just like I just did, it's almost like I didn't care. Like I was just me. Like I
Yeah,
just can't. It's exhausting. Masking the
yeah.
fun parts of my personality is exhausting.
Oh, and it is the fun parts.
Exactly.
Um And that's no fair because yeah, that's why, like I said, I'm surrounding myself with people that get me, that understand me. My husband is just absolutely so um uh, just gracious and understands me so well, even though he is as neurotypical as you could possibly ever be. Um, but he gets it. He really does get it. And so that's been a really great help. And then, my mom getting it, and seeing it in herself and going, "Oh, crap." I do this, I do that, I do that. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's hereditary, mom. So I mean, just having that support system is really good and being able to talk to people like you
Yeah.
about all of this stuff, even the hard stuff is really cathartic and it's good for all of us.
With me and my daughter, like my daughter's struggled with my ADHD. She doesn't really understand, although she's got it. She swear down's blind. She's not neurodivergent, but that's the story for another day. She is. She's more autistic than ADHD. But the more that
Mhm.
I've learned about it and how the symptoms are in me, and the more that I talk to her about it, the more she understands and the less impatient she's been with me and the better the relationship, because she understands that I can't give a simple yes or no answer. She understands that, I do things not on purpose, but because, I do things in a certain way. And it's just grown that kind of respect between us. And yeah, apart from when she said last year or the year before, probably last year, I don't know. If any of my children have ADHD, they're coming to live with you. She was like, "I'm not raising children like you." And I'm like, "There's nothing wrong with me." She's like, "Mother, I'll need patience of a saint." But we get on better. I think now she's moved out. She lives with her boyfriend and stuff. But she was joking when she said it, but she wasn't fully joking. But
No,
I
not
just,
fully.
I just think that, the more that we talk about our experiences, the more that we educate people around us, the more understanding and the less ashamed that we feel. And although my partner is very, very autistic and has severe anxiety, he doesn't have ADHD, but literally, he said that he was quite impatient when we first got together. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm just going to test your impatience too. But
Mhm.
literally, I cannot praise him enough because he's just so patient with me. And
I've seen so many ADHD and autistic couples that work so good.
yeah, I'm the storm, he's the calm. He's like
Oh my
the
gosh.
yeah, yeah, literally.
I always say my husband said one day, that he's the rock and I'm the kite. And if it wasn't, I'm tied to him and I'm up here flying away. But if it wasn't for him, I would fly off into the sun. And if it wasn't for me, he'd never look up.
I love that.
I'm
That's
actually gonna
exactly
get that a little cartoon tattoo of that.
yeah, you should, because that's beautiful. But yeah, exactly
Yeah.
the same with me and my partner, like just that understanding and unconditional love, even when I'm being bonkers and just yeah, it's very special when you find that. It is really
Yeah.
special. So, and
He
particularly
loves my bonkers.
well, I'm not sure if my other half would say that he loves the bonkers part, but no, he does. But he, I'm saying that, but
He
but
lives vicariously.
yeah, but I always say to him, I'm funny, and at least every day is different, and there's no, it's always kind of a bit bonkers. And he's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I know. No, honestly, like he says to me regularly, I've never laughed this much in my whole life. So yeah, and it's not what I say, it's how I say it. So it's always my deliverance. And I'm like, but I don't say anything in it. I only say them in the way that I say them. I don't see it as something that's necessarily like amazingly funny or whatever. I just don't.
Yeah, no, it's your delivery.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
how I deliver things, and I won't even know that I've said anything funny until I can hear, like, 'cause he doesn't always laugh, but the belly laugh where you don't actually make any noise and your shoulders are up. I call it Muttley laughing because there's no sound coming out, and it's only because I'll look at him and I'll like, is he having a fit? Which he's not. He's having a fit of laughter, but I'm like, and then I sometimes say to him, "What have I said that's funny then?" And he's like, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. And then I start laughing. And then that's just like we spend more of our time laughing than we do anything else. So I think when you find that kind of unconditional connection with someone and they just accept you as you
Mhm.
are, I just think that's a really beautiful thing that should be celebrated. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Gina, it's been an absolute pleasure. I thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly have enjoyed talking to you.
You too.
And I'll put the links to your website and your LinkedIn in the description of the
Mhm.
podcast. I'll let you know once it's published. And yeah, all I ask is that you just share it with people that you think might enjoy listening to our crazy conversations.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
thank you so much for your time. And to the listeners, I need to get better at this, but please can you follow, like, share the podcast so I can try and help as many people as possible. And if anyone knows of any inspirational slash motivational speaking opportunities that they think that could benefit from hearing my story, I don't know if story is the right word, but I'm just branching out in that. So please do reach out to me if any of you are aware of it. And Jeanna, for today, thank you.
Mhm.
Please come back again. Just rebook in with me if you ever fancy having a chat, because I've thoroughly
Well, I would love
enjoyed.
to. I had
Yeah,
a great time
yeah.
today,
And thank
and
you.
it was just great to talk to somebody who is a lot like me, who gets it, who's not a bullshitter, and just calls them as they see it. So thank you for going a little deep with me today. I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate that. And also, I apologise if anything that I've shared or either of us have shared today has upset any of the listeners, watchers, whichever one, however you watch it, you listen. I'll put a little disclaimer just in the
Mhm.
description, just in case,
Little
because I have
content
talked
warning.
about, yeah, I have talked about some deep things. But thank you for making me feel comfortable enough to talk about them things, because
You're
yeah,
so absolutely welcome.
thank you for giving me that space as well. And I forget we're recording half the time because we're just two people having a conversation. But anyway,
Mhm.
before we go off on another tangent, um, thank you so much for your time.